TSM versus Cloud9 is one of the greatest League of Legends rivalries that exists today. So if you're unfamiliar with this story and have been living under a rock for the past few years, well then this video is for you. TSM was dominant in the first split of the LCS until Cloud9 came in and said, "Nuh-uh." And what followed was a massive struggle for the LCS trophy that spanned literal years. We've got to know the players, the coaches, the fans. The story of their rivalry is so vast and complex that it is fused into the very identity of the LCS itself. So let's get into exactly how that went. Well, first these guys won, then these guys won, then those guys won again, and then these guys won again with the help of their new player Bjergsen, and then they won again. And then CLG came out of left field and won twice in a row, but we don't talk about that very much. Then Doublelift joined TSM, and everyone was like, whoa! And they smashed the league again, and again, and again, and then they traded Doublelift. And then the dark times came. But then these guys were back to winning championships again. First Cloud9 won again, then TSM, then Cloud9 one more time. They're back on top, baby. No, stop it. Get out of here. No, stop, no, get out. So, that is TSM versus Cloud9, oversimplified.
Well, if the TL era was the dark times, we are very much outside of the dark times, with C9 being the current reigning champions here in the LCS. TSM Cloud9, as was just called out, one of the mainstay rivalries of the LCS, and my personal favorite because of how back and forth it has been, because of how many times these teams had to claw over each other in order to take a trophy.
Yeah, and for me, it's always the personalities that come with it. You know, players come and go, but you always have like outspoken members within the team that like carries that legacy.
And I think to that point, right, we talk about Bjergsen joining TSM and how that was, you know, kind of the ignition the team needed to go on some pretty insane runs alongside Doublelift as well, not to forget his tenure on the team. Well, in a similar fashion, we've had a European import to Cloud9 where very much a similar expectation would be that he is going to take this team and possibly region to the next level.
Yeah, speaking of outspoken, that's been Perk's motto. And even he was outspoken of his own, like, I guess, poor play in his first few weeks, but man, did he come in strong. His Akali performance is the first one. You bringing back Yone, I love this meta and the creativity that he provides here. So I hope we see more of that, especially in the upcoming game versus TSM.
Well, his opponent, of course, is Power of Evil, no slouch of his own, and I will be curious to see how he stacks up in that regard. But as they play the middle lane, we have to talk about those behind them. Flanking are the two junglers, Blabber and Spica. Earlier in the first round robin, we kind of talked about how these two have been step for step with each other alongside in their careers up to this point. And it just is so fitting that they are also step by step with each other when it comes to the Samsung SSD Fast 5 leaderboards.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, last time we talked about how these two started in the same scouting grounds class, a very big scouting grounds class, by the way. And I want to talk a little bit more about how they've both been playing, you know, on the teams currently. We've talked about Blabber having a little bit of a much slower start to this split than he did previously, whereas Spica, I think, as TSM has shifted their play style a little bit, and I'll touch upon this later again, he's had stronger lane communication as it's gone on, as they've been trying to shift. And I think they're, TSM's in a really interesting spot where Spica is one of the main, you know, like impetus for them winning, I think. He's behind a lot of what they do.
I think for the Blabber side too, yesterday's game was one where I was very excited to see him solo kill a top laner in the jungle when he got the kill on Nocturne and he was Diana. I was like, okay, this is the Blabber we've all been waiting for. This is why he's won multiple MVPs. He can run over games, and that felt especially like a return to form for him.
I asked the question before yesterday's C9 game, what happened to spring MVP Blabber? He kind of answered that question in the game alone. But as if that wasn't enough, yesterday Fudge as well spoke with us about how Cloud9 plays around their jungler during their resurgence here in summer. Take a look.
I think we've gotten a lot better at planning like our gank timing, stuff like that, so that Blabber can be also more efficient with his like farming, because we found that in previous weeks we were like sort of skipping camps to help laners, and I think it hurt Blabber's like early game a lot. So yeah, we've been trying to work on that as a team.
So yeah, I really liked, and in the little bit leading up into this, he talked about how one of the focal points for them has been syncing lanes with Blabber and figuring out where Blabber fits with the team. I thought one of their strengths, actually, I kept pointing out in the final, especially with how they play top, is, you know, they'd wait for Alphari to push in the stacked wave, and then Blabber would be up there, right, with Fudge, really punishing that lane. And we think of Blabber more as a stereotypical, like, carry style jungler, which means that he's going to be relying on his lanes to be in the correct wave state, be communicating with him, but then also have more efficient pathing around getting his own camps. Whereas Spica, like I said, as TSM has kind of shifted towards some more early game focused lanes, they haven't necessarily been playing around it as well as they could, but I still think he's been a huge part in trying to track the enemy jungler, and I think improved lane communication between him and his laners and where the wave state is the next step in TSM's evolution.
Yeah, I mean, two things for me. First thing, I'll be quick, was like planning forward, right? That's what Fudge was kind of alluding to, that not only are they being efficient for Blabber, but also like planning ahead with waves so they can get those you know, plays being made. So they had those synchronous 2 dives at the same time, support ganking mid, jungle diving top. That was great. For TSM though, you know, I love watching like TSM Legends and seeing the content within the team, what's been happening, and like they've been very clear within the team that even with the wins that they've been having, they've not been happy with it.
Coach is a good look on Bjergsen from those behind-the-scenes shoots. But, Mark, I do want to talk about one other position on the map, and that's the bot lane, specifically in light of Sven having talked about how, you know, they're struggling a little bit, still coming back to the meta and finding their footing, whereas TSM's bot lane seems to maybe be an X factor.
I think TSM's bot lane is one of the more critical or criticized parts of the team, but I actually loved what I saw yesterday where they were dominating in 2v2s. They got multiple kills in the bot lane, and this is exactly what I think is most interesting about the matchup this week. Cloud9 seems to be coming back and forth. We're talking about Blabber and Perks playing a lot better. For TSM, they've played really, really aggressive comps, the 4 melee dive comps that there's no more Victor scaling. They're a lot more proactive, and then the bot lane is playing better. So it feels like both teams are trying to address some of the concerns and get Blabber going more and jumpstart him. And in the bot side, you know, actually play more aggressive and play these comps that are the meta right now.
All right, well, it is the biggest rivalry here and the marquee matchup on the final day of Rivalry weekend. So you know I can't go to the casters until I know who you think is taking it. So Raz, let's start with you. Cloud9, TSM, what's it going to be?
I have to say Cloud9. I'm confident in their performance this week, and I think they'll take that 3-0.
Cloud9 over here. Mark?
Cloud9.
You didn't submit your prediction.
I did.
Now's your time.
I did it.
Did you? All right, well
Yeah.
then what is it?
It's Cloud9.
Okay.
I'm checking Emily. We're all...
Yeah, we're all Cloud9.
My goodness.
Every time
I
I'm
think
on
it's
the
closer
deck.
than
Every
that.
time I ask, all
We're
three of you
all
go the same
united.
direction. Well, then this time I'm going with TSM, just so I can
Okay.
be right when
There
all
you
of
go.
you are wrong. With
All
that,
right.
we're throwing it out to the casters. It's Flowers, it's Kobe, and it's Azael. Take it away.
He's just trying to be different.
Thank you so much, Dash, and welcome back, everybody. The matchup is so big, we couldn't do it with just the 2-man roster. We had to bring in our buddy, Mr. Azael.
Reinforcements.
Let's do it. I have not done one of these casts since 2019. I'm psyched.
I believe in you. You can do this.
Hell yeah, that makes one of us. I'm ready to YOLO this one all the way down. I am so ready for this. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, and we did one yesterday.
Yeah.
So if it gets messed up,
We can just blame him. That's great. I like this.
All right. My new name is Speed Bump, apparently, because I'm getting thrown under the bus. But let's get ready to jump into some TSM, some Cloud9. The last time these two teams played against each other, it was a couple awesome kicks from Hooney's Lee Sin that really changed the tide and the story of the game. So I want to see who's the real pop-off player this time around.
And I'm actually so excited for this one. You know, the whole desk was going the way of Cloud9, and I think that's a lot about how good they have looked this weekend in particular. They have been dominant, but you've got to say it's been TSM who has been the much stronger team throughout the split. So I'm hoping for a very even back-and-forth game. The respect man for the Mundo.
Oh, yeah.
He showed that earlier this split already, and interesting to see that on the ban table.
yeah, it was looking good. I definitely like what I saw from that top side. You know, TSM have been so flexible with their top side with Hooney, either playing through it or looking towards, you know, bottom side. And with all of the 2v2 lane kills that we saw from TSM yesterday, very well might be the case. Cloud9, I also, though, I'm really hyper-focused on this jungle matchup because Spica has been so incredibly good for TSM, and we've heard so much about how Cloud9 are focusing on how the lanes are working with Blabber and the early game and some of these changes.
Yeah, and as soon as they banned Xin on red side, I expected Diana had to come through. You know, as you say, those are kind of the two powerful junglers. These are the jungle matchup that we're really focusing on, and Gwen coming through, very likely going to be up to Fudge. It can get flex, but it feels like it's almost exclusively played top.
Yeah, we've got Mundo, Nocturne, Lee Sin, Akali, Xin, and Diana all banned away. The Gwen makes sense as one of those first picks. We know how powerful this champion can be in the right hands. Fudge, definitely the type of player that could pop off on that. And now for TSM, their first response will be locking in the Kalista.
Okay.
I'm already thinking I want to see Huni's Gangplank again. Huni's Gangplank is one of the most feared picks, right up there with his Rumble. And it actually, you can effectively play it into Gwen, you know, pretty easily. Early on, you can fight for the wave. And if the Gwen challenges you, yeah, it can come down to skill. It can be close, but generally most of the Gwens have started to cede early wave control to the Gangplank side of it. And I think it also would play into, you know, TSM and some of the bottom side stuff now, some of the newfound focus into Lost.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, they describe Kalista, so you want to play playing towards that lane. I think you have the good 1v1 matchup. You have the ability to focus that. Thresh was left up, and that was a concern. It's a great pairing with the Kalista. And it's also a great pairing with the Aphelios, so I wouldn't have minded if TSM grabbed that as their second pick, but now with that off the table, they're going to have to look elsewhere there for their engage.
Yep, I like the fact that Cloud9 wants to draft the Thresh with the Aphelios, provide a little bit of cover for some of those weaknesses, give him some mobility, give him some peel, and then TSM's last pick before the second half of the ban start to roll through will be Nautilus. So Kalista Nautilus versus Aphelios Thresh in the bottom lane, and then Gwen, of course, can be flexed, but is almost always a top laner. Yeah. Viego, a lot more flexibility here for TSM.
Yeah, I kind of want to see PoE get it again. He was looking good with the power of the Shadow Isles. I'd say pretty high priority on having that mid, and so maybe we see some more bans from Cloud9 towards that top lane, towards the Huni pick we're looking at, like a Jace, like a Gangplank, try and whittle down on that champ pool. TSM with a set ban of their own, though, because of the flexibility shown here from Cloud9.
And let's see how Cloud9 want to respond to that one. They know they don't got to worry about anything in the bottom lane. But again, yeah, that question that you asked, do you focus on the Huni champ pool? Do you focus on the Power of Evil champ pool? It will be those options, those counter picks into the Gwen to try to set up success here for Fudge.
Yeah, they got one of them, the Jace out, so the Kennen and the Gangplank are the other two big ones into it on top side. Huni's been very flexible, though, and he drew out that Mundo ban, so there might even be something even further out of the reaches.
I mean, another one that I'm kind of looking at as conspicuously absent from the draft so far is Renekton. It's such a popular pick, especially if you're talking about working well with your jungler, playing for that 2v2.
So
exactly.
The other thing here is that they're already pretty AD heavy, so maybe like the Kennen. Kennen is also quite a good one. Get some AP in there for them, because I'm assuming it is going to be PoE with the Viego, but it could be Spica. You know, jungle Viego definitely very good too, so that flexibility might keep Cloud9 guessing, and it does. It draws out the AP jungle ban to pair with them.
And I always do like a Rumble ban against TSM here, just because Huni's such a big Rumble player anyway. He has such a reputation on this champion. It's that much more valuable against this squad. TSM sending their last ban at Orianna, and now they'll lock in the Volley Bear. I feel like this almost has to be in the jungle these days. Yeah. So that means Viego should be heading towards one of those solo lanes, but we still don't know which.
And it does really make me wonder, what is the setup here going to be for Huni, right? Because if you do go another AD laner, you are going to be very heavily physical, which could be an issue against some of these champions, especially with Cloud9 still having the ability to draft some sort of a tank out of the jungle that could actually respond well to that.
At this point, yeah, I'm thinking it's got to be Kennen for him then. It just feels like the best as far as, you know, setting up space for Viego to work with too.
I guess they could do Viego top and then draft something for PoE, like a control mage as well, right? You could look for an Azir as an option there if you want.
Into Gwen, that feels hard for Viego, but yeah, it could be the case. Perks back on the Yone, please lock it in.
Hey,
it looks so good yesterday.
We can't get over excited just yet. It's still a hover. It's still a hover. It is Azir instead. Azir Trundle will round out the draft for Cloud9.
Okay, so Azir.
You sound so defeated.
Yeah. You know what I wanted,
He got
okay?
baited.
Azir at least does play with the theme of the comp, okay? Because you're looking at the overall theme of Cloud9's comp. You have Aphelios, amazing late game. You have Trundle for super beefy front line. Guess what? Azir gives you more of the late game, more of the peeling for your back line, so it makes sense.
And it's what I thought. They're actually just going to flex the Viego, and they're going to go for a control mage mid because they want that AP. They're not comfortable moving towards the cannon. So through that lens, if Cloud9 had the same read that I did, they could also see the Azir as a takeaway, right? Because Azir has been very good lately, very popular lately. A lot of people are prioritizing it above the Victor. So it is not only a good pick for them, but it is that denial. I've got to say, though, I really like the C9 draft. I think Trundle as an answer into some of these beefy champions like the Volibear can be really, really strong, slowing down some of these melee, disengaging, and it'll be pretty tough, I think, to fight through the box, to fight through these Azir soldiers, and actually get to the Aphelios, who you're going to have to kill off.
And it's going to be interesting because we can look at the top lane wave for the first couple of minutes to see, is TSM going to try and play off of this Volibear early pressure and get him a level 3 gank to Huni? That is the biggest question mark for this game for TSM, because there are options later for the Kalista Nautilus lane down on the bottom side of the map, but a first strike on top side, I think would be greatly beneficial to this team, especially if the Gwen opts for the Ignite.
Okay, well, that's something that we're going to keep an eye on then in the early stages of this game. Can they get that going? Can they enable Huni to succeed in this 1v1? We know that Huni is a player that when he is enabled, when he is having those high highs, he can play incredibly well. And on a champion like Viego, the sky's the limit.
Worth noting, it is going to be Phase Rush here for Power of Evil. That is something as a mid laner, anytime it's Trundle jungle, I'm going to play Phase Rush pretty much on every champion. You know, this is one of those things that allows you to escape from those ganks very, very easily. It's going to make it difficult for Blabber to pressure mid whatsoever. So Blabber will have to be focused, I think, more on counter ganking this game or potentially attacking bot.
And just doing a little bit of housekeeping, keeping track of everything else here. We do have Comet there for perks. Up against another control mage gives you its more powerful laning capabilities early on here. And another big difference is those support summoner spells, Sword Art with the Ignite, but Vulcan with the Exhaust for whenever Huni tries to jump into the fights or whenever Lost is about to try to go for a big rend and you're almost out of range. So a bit more of a defensive option there for the C9 support.
Yeah, it's just so easy to utilize into the TSM comp because you've got a melee carry over there that is fairly hard commit, plus the low range AD carry of the Kalista.
Okay, nobody's doing anything cheeky here at level 1. Spreading out, defending those entrances. We do have a bit of a pseudo group up here from TSM.
They have a sweeper on Sword Art, so I think it's going to be greatly beneficial to them if they go for the delayed invade on bottom side.
Okay, there comes your face check. Goodbye, Vulcan, and first blood goes over to Lost.
Nice setup there from TSM. They just played that defensive line, and Vulcan had no idea they're there. They're going to actually invade off of this and take away the red buff, so that is a big deal here.
Awesome, awesome start for the side of TSM. They get their jungler starting at the enemy red buff. Remember our ProView matchup, you just saw it on your screen there. The junglers are featured. Blabber versus Spica, Trundle versus Volibear, and Spica's loving the start of this game.
And guess what? First blood going over to the Kalista Nautilus lane. This is going to be so big for TSM. They're also splitting the map, so Lost and Sword Art just get to go all in. They know they have cut the map here with the jungle invade. Yeah, you get the kill, but you also get full autonomy on the bottom half of the map.
And that's what they want to play towards. Stack the dragons, utilize this Kalista. The Kalista's also going longsword 3-pot, and this setup in particular, when you're starting the game with this, allows you to trade very aggressively, use these potions as a resource to tax your enemy's health, try to chip them down. With Speak on this side of the map, and they have them zoned off the experience, I think it is potentially a
some
base
high taxes.
Yeah, Vulcan just face checks the brush here with Spica clearing out the Krug camp. He's ready and waiting.
He has the base.
Yeah.
This is brutal. He's going to lose these minions.
Cloud9 is in no condition to be able to try to stand and contest this. TSM have awesome control over this bottom half of the map.
And look where Blabber is, rather. You know, he can't do anything. You can see Blabber up here on the top side. There's no counter dive on top lane. There's nothing really being taken away, so it's 3-camp clear for Spica, and you're losing everything here. 0 CS!
It's TSM. TSM 1. TSM 1 bottom lane, hard as heck.
Watch your language there, Kobe. It's still a video game game that sometimes children play. Anyway, TSM are just crushing this bottom. 2 plates at 3 minutes?
Yikes.
Holy
and he has
moly.
first blood, by the way, so you go back to base as Sven and you get the really impressive buy, the big power spike of 2 health potions. And then you go back as
he's going to be drinking a lot. He's going to be drinking heavy.
Oh, they're actually going for the long con. They're going to try to make the read that Aphelios will try to push this out. And if you try to hard shove this, they could just go for the engage. They're calling down Spica.
Nice bit of game sense there from Vulcan to check the brush with the lantern, but it might not be enough. Here comes Spica with the dive, and Vulcan is dead again. What TSM is doing to this bottom lane is illegal in at least a few states, my friends. It's gotta be.
And I love to see this type of jungling. You get hold of an area of power on the map, and you don't let go. This bear has sunk his teeth into the bottom side, just head first dive straight under the turret. Really good E placement, so on arrival, Spica just flashes right into it. You get the damage, plus you get your shield, stun, boom. Well executed.
You know when a bear eats you, it don't even kill you first, it just starts eating. And that's what Spica is doing this game, my friends. He is feasting on Cloud9. TSM making it happen with plays like these.
Yeah, we can watch this one more time. So they're faking the reset, and Cloud9 knows the TSM bot lane would have a lot of gold, so a reset here for a Vamp Scepter or whatever, Noon Quiver would make a lot of sense. So they go for the push, and they've already made this read. They're calling Spica down, and Cloud9 is actually playing it very defensively to their credit, but no escaping it.
Yeah, I mean, on replay, they have both flashes. I don't know if that's spectator bug, but
I believe it is.
Right in there, Spica's able to get his flash super high value.
Well, it's still displaying the flashes here, so maybe it was not a bug. Either way, TSM 1,500 gold ahead. 1,500, no, 1,500 gold ahead of their opponents early on. All of it is focused around this bottom lane.
Yeah.
Things are going phenomenally here. Blabber has now rotated down, seeing if maybe they can punish the aggro, see if TSM wants to keep going in here and bait them into a bad situation.
But look at Spica, he's pathing down. And if they get this 3v3 and Cloud9 dies here, this is gonna be GG.
Sword Art has his flash. He flashes away to stay alive, but the Flay is gonna bring him right back. Spica's joined the fight, and Sword Art is still alive. Spica going for a little bit of damage now, but with the focus onto Blabber, that's not the target they need. Spica has no flash, and Fudge is ready for a little bit of snip, snip. C9 is on the board.
While the party is bottom lane, you still have to keep your eyes on top side for those teleports. Huni just uses teleport, and the big difference comes in from Fudge. Fudge factor paying off on the bottom side for Cloud9, trying to keep him afloat.
And that is actually so important because that was like a triple stacked wave that he's also going to lose. So yes, Lost will still be ahead, but look at the farm. I think this is actually 4 waves that he's going to potentially lose here. We'll see if they can get back to the turret now to try to reclaim some of that. But the CS has evened out. Of course, Huni will take his tax from that top lane. He does get a plate of his own, but that is TP advantage in action there for Fudge. And they're looking for Blabber. He's got flash, does have Lantern.
Yep, Lantern's better than any summoner spell in a situation like that. Just pull you straight to safety, no big deal. Scuttle Crab was secured by the side of Cloud9, so they will have vision over the fact that Spica has dragged this this Drake out of the pit here, but it's not like they have anything to say about it. With Kalista and Nautilus both there, it's TSM's Drake.
It's such a fun game when you get these focused early game plans, and to have it kind of handed to you as TSM, it started out in the most ideal situation ever.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to level 1. Guess what? We're setting up for a delayed invade, and they walk right into us for the first blood for bottom side. Then the bounce back on the wave, having it push out. Here's another look at the actual play, though. Sword Art does flash out early, definitely necessary. Looking at the mini map right now, Huni just teleported back to top side, so Fudge is saying, hey, I gotta bail out this bottom lane. There's no flash on the jungler because Spica used it in the dive, so we can collect the kill. So Fudge gets paid for his teleport, plus the big denial on the, must be like 3 or 4 stacked waves right there into the turret.
And I think that's one of those situations where as soon as you're TPing back to top lane as Huni, you have got to be communicating the TP disadvantage there. You've got to be playing that game where you're telling your jungler not to fully commit, because I think Spica just showing up would have been enough to dissuade the chase. Sword Art had already flashed out, so I think he was safe. So if Spica doesn't fully commit there, knowing that TP could come through, it's just a positive play for TSM, and those are those minor things that you always want to be working on week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, they're just hyped up down there, They're all high-fiving each other. Yo, yo, we stomped them. Yo, they just got 12 CS or so. We're pumped. Oh, okay, a little bit too far. All right, calm down, reorient here in the game. They're still, still have a very large lead in the early stages here with the Cloud Drake picked up on top of the gold.
Right, but the important part is for Cloud9, they brought the game back to a reasonable situation. It is no longer a 1,500 gold deficit at 5 minutes into the game. This is much more manageable. They're only a kill or two away now, but it's TSM who are, again, trying to be proactive, trying to start up some objectives here. It's Rift Herald, begun by Spica, but Blabber walks into the river to see what's happening. Huni is also here. Power of Evil will have first rotation over from mid. This is not a fast take coming out of them. C9 might still want to rotate over to stop this. They do have both solo laners heading in now. Blabber wants to try to steal it away, but the steal is not going to come through. It appears that TSM is just a little bit too clean there on the Rift.
Yeah, it was just a very, very slight miscalculation on the early Smite there. Smite does 900 after converted, and it was at 9-something.
Or so.
Yeah,
75
he
or
missed it by less than 100
and
HP.
so Spica calmly just able to pick it up right after that. Blabber was trying to sneak in, smite it as it's,
It's Huni who got it, though.
burning down a little bit, and they're able to just finish off Rift Herald. So definitely happy to hand it over to the Viego to get that one snowballing for topside, because Huni can theoretically now get full gold for it.
Right, that's the one thing to consider here that is the anomaly compared to a normal Rift Herald play where they give it to the jungler so that they can have complete choice over where to drop it. It will most likely just be in that top lane tier 1.
And the reasoning for that is that Viego, carry champion here, Volibear, a lot of it is about early game utility, getting your ganks off, and more frontline. So the gold more focused onto one of the carry roles, definitely beneficial. And here it is, 974, 65, the last little number there. So, yep. Just trying to time it with a little bit of the extra damage and easily picked up.
And credit to TSM, because Spica actually stopped when it was above smite range, started casting his E, so he was going to do an E smite to secure it from that.
Right.
Knowing that Trundle can't walk in and outsmite him on that, right? So Trundle can't actually walk up and melee it. He smites from range, expecting an auto or something to come through. It does not. So really well played on that smite secure from Spica.
Yeah, there's no crazy range seals possible for Trundle. No surprise.
Pillar.
No
Pillar does
surprise
1 damage if you hit him with it.
They actually were able to remove that because they got some coding in where you don't have to do a damage now to get aggro. And so they, pretty sure they replaced it with that because, back in the old days, you could pop like the old Cinder Hulk explosion and stuff with it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of silliness that could be happening, but not here, not anymore. We still have ourselves a pretty close game on our hands, and we have 1 minute until the second Drake of the game spawns. So that first one going over to TSM, there was no contest for it. Cloud9 have made things a bit closer. Still a nice farm lead in the bottom lane here for Lost and Sword Art, which is honestly what you need to see if you have Kalista going into an Aphelios, right? If you're looking at a late game situation, Aphelios will have much more carry power.
Absolutely. But they've kept that advantage, and more importantly, they've gotten the dragon control so far. If TSM can pick up the second dragon on spawn here, 2 dragons at 12 minutes, you're threatening that 22, 24-minute soul, and that is really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's a bit of a race because TSM, they have so much influence with bottom's triangle, basically, Kalista, Nautilus, and Volibear. This is actually seen by the wards, and it gives Cloud9 enough time to vacate the area, but the damage is still going to be done. It's another minion wave being zoned off here as Ven and Vulcan have to go super far back to their secondary turret, and it's all prepping for Dragon number 2, which TSM should have a pretty easy time to continue stacking. And it's not like they've got a hard cutoff either, because they gave themselves outs in Champion Select with the Victor pick. So they don't have this every lane has like super poor scaling. They do have options.
Whoop, here we go though. Power of Evil gets shuffled right back into the waiting arms of the Cloud9 jungler, and Perks cashes in, making the play.
That was actually really well played. Sweep him back in, wait till after he flashes, then pillar him. There is no getting out of that. You just can't escape.
Yeah, that mid lane's just speaking of that one. It gets killed off real quickly. No flash on Victor either. Is going to be super vulnerable. And the timing. Cloud9 really intelligent timing on this gank.
Okay, well, never mind. We got a fight breaking out already. TSM looking to grab this first kill into Vulcan for free. He did not want to be there, my friends. Cloud9 lose their support, and they lose the Dragon.
I've got to say, I'm surprised that Fudge TP'd back to top. I think that is a response to Viego having the Herald in his inventory. But if your team is looking to actually set up for a challenge there on the Dragon, why are you TPing your Gwen back to top, who doesn't even have an ability to interrupt Viego's teleport? So it seemed a little bit miscommunicated there between Fudge and the rest of the team.
It definitely is split because two things popped up at once, so you can kind of see your way into it in the constant game. They're like, oh, this mid gank actually went so successfully that it opens up another possibility that we're thinking of trying to set up for, contesting Giant, because we just killed PoE. There's some seconds still left on his teleport, but with the Rift Herald, there's just so much pressure with Rift Herald. Nowadays, you can't really leave it unanswered. One of the biggest benefits of a Rift Herald is how your opponents just have to react to it, because the damage you can do now with there being more gold in secondary towers too is really, really kind of endless.
Yeah. Scary, scary stuff if you don't show proper respect there. But we only have 10 seconds left on turret plates before those fall. Both side lane tier 1 turrets on the Cloud9 side are very, very low. Could be easily knocked down with just a little bit of focus there from TSM. Mid lane's in a lot better shape. Power of Evil continuing to defend that one, using the gravity well to clear out the minion wave. But he's got to be so respectful. As you already pointed out, Azael, without the flash, Victor is incredibly vulnerable here for the next 2.5 minutes. It'll be so easy for Cloud9 to make a return play there.
And that money funded Perks Leandri's here. It got 200 gold cheaper, so he's got a very nice power spike on the Azir, got a bounty for himself, been farming quite nicely. Cloud9, they have been biding their time, okay? Bottom lane was on fire early on, but not panicking.
Yeah, I mean, the gold is almost back to dead even, right? And Cloud9 does, we can't forget, have better scaling here. The Azir, the Gwen, the Aphelios, all incredibly powerful late game champions. Trundle's utility against someone like a Volibear, just turn him into paper in that 5v5. Cloud9 has gotten themselves back into a comfortable position, and now for TSM, their advantage is largely riding on getting Soul, but it is Cloud, it is not Infernal. It's not one of those kind of GG Souls. It can be very powerful, but I'm sure they would be preferring to see Infernal, Ocean, these other ones.
I also love playing Trundle into Nautilus. Here we go on the bottom side, though.
Oh boy, flash in for the ulti to immediately start it off. Sven wants to do everything he can to keep himself alive. He tries. The Rend comes out. Sven is still alive. Sword Art's tanking up the turret, and TSM gets it done.
Yep, every last one of those turret shots. Sword Art's patiently waiting, allowing for the chase down there for Lost. It will be the answer on top side for Cloud9, knowing that all these members have been committed by TSM. But look at that gold lead. That is paid for by TSM Wonard.
Easy stuff for the TSM bottom lane there in that 2v1. But now, is their mid laner in trouble? Cloud9 moving plenty of bodies around here to this mid lane, trying to make a move happen. Mid lane tier 1 still pretty healthy. Blabber with that second Rift Herald does not want to use that right here, right now.
Now,
Instead, just going to hold on.
Cloud9 definitely want to be able to set up some deeper vision before they start their plays. This comp benefits so much from front to back. If you get to have strong positioning, Trundle right in front with the Thresh, you can just pillar the Nautilus. The ultimate from Trundle shreds either Spica or Nautilus, whichever TSM member tries to initiate, makes them incredibly vulnerable, and Azir plus Aphelios can annihilate them. So C9, wow, TSM keep making these plays on bottom side, keep getting so much for Lost, who is at a big 2-item power spike there for the Kalista. They want to try and play off their synergies together.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I always love to do when I am playing this Trundle jungle, and you have a really strong backline, is actually just pillar out the enemy backline, right? Their front line engages, you actually just pillar out the Kalista, pillar out the Victor, push them back so they're not actually hitting your front line, and your Azir and Aphelios are shredding the enemy front line, which you also have that ulti down on. But TSM doing a good job of extending the gold lead. It had gotten back to just about parity, 2-3 minutes ago, and now again up above a 3,000 gold lead here. The next dragon up in a minute. TSM will be there on spawn.
And so much of this gold lead is just hard concentrated on Lost. 41 CS ahead, 3 out of 4 of the team's kills. Andy has an assist on the one that he didn't get. This Kalista is a force of nature here in these upcoming fights, and TSM are ready to play around him. Remember the last time these two teams fought, it was actually a Lulu Kog'Maw bottom lane from TSM, so they had sort of that late game insurance policy. It was fine to just sort of ride it out. Now on this more aggressive pick, now on this champion that wants to play around the mid-game power, I want to see them play around Lost.
And I actually think that Cloud9 should try and trade top turret in exchange for this Dragon number 3 because of the position of Lost right now. So powerful. This is Kalista dream scenario, with the shield bow plus the Rageblade so early on. So they do just that. They take the guaranteed gold on top side with top focus. They're going to give up the next dragon positioning to TSM, say, hey, you can have your soul point. We will fight you on the one that actually gives soul, and they get paid for doing it.
They're going to go for the tier 2, which is worth even more gold. So I love this even more. You know, push this up. You know that all the other TSM members are down on the bot side. So take both towers, really get paid, even out that gold before soul point.
It's that Rift Herald must be answered factor of the game now. Really big influx of gold here for Cloud9. But again, TSM, their eyes are on the soul.
So those two turrets together will alleviate about 1,500 gold of that deficit, brings us back to a 2K gold lead here for TSM, which 19 minutes into the game is still a good lead, especially when you consider the bonuses that they have that aren't reflected in that, like the Drakes that they've picked up, all 3 of those here so far.
And the completed items, right? You've always got to remember that when you finish that item, it's worth so much more than the sum of the parts. So the fact that this second item is already in for the Callista loss is ridiculously strong, but TSM want to keep pressing. And it's going to be these next 5 minutes that a lot is going to be decided.
Vulcan's going in, and Perks is right behind him, but Spica is not the ideal target. TSM immediately ready to turn things around. They kill Sven off instead. They will take that one every day of the week. TSM with 1 kill under their belt, nearly finding 2 more. Death sentence from Vulcan won't get a thing. But TSM win out in the fight.
You see how hungry PoE is too? He even goes in for the extra deep dive there with Victor and flashes out. Maybe you got punished for not having flash later, but man, you can tell TSM are just riding this wave of pressure so hard right now. They want to get everything they possibly could out of that fight. And again, Volibear, speak a really nice use of his ultimate. Yeah, you can get the pick on him, but Unstoppable just jumps his way right back out, and TSM turn it around. They get rewarded with the double turret take of their own straight down mid.
And they are marching up to the Baron as it spawns. This is a 20-minute Baron. Yes, Cloud9 will have that scuttle crab vision over the area, but Cloud9's mid laner is dead for 20 seconds.
And they have flash to turn on Nautilus, right? You've got flash hook. Cloud9 knows that the ability to turn is there. They have the Callista for the secure, so they're not even going to show up. And all of a sudden, TSM, big fight mid. They knock down the towers, they take the Baron, and they are so far ahead.
I really think a lot of early game focus and priority is the way to go. Having some agency, some game plan early on. TSM just got paid so well for it. You know, the delayed invades set up for bottom side, Spica splitting the map, constant harassment down there, and they're able to get so much out of these plays. Here's the Volibear ult over.
And I think the biggest problem is that Cloud9 doesn't really have much damage there to actually follow up. You land the hook, you sweep in the Volibear, but Aphelios is not there yet, Volley's not there yet, Gwen is not there yet. So you're not going to be able to burst him down. You've committed these ultis onto him. All of TSM has actually reinforced and is hitting your front line that's trying to flood in, and TSM comes out on top.
TSM have an incredible lead now in this game, and they can make it that much stronger here with this Baron for the next 2 minutes. They still have those tier 2 turrets standing, honestly, only in top lane. They've taken 5 turrets already for themselves this game. So that means a lot of this Baron will be spent getting those waves shoved up, knocking on the door to those inhibitor turrets. And it's up to Cloud9 to use this scaling comp, use this Aphelios, this Azir, and hold the line.
Yeah, they're trying to hold that door, make sure it does not fall over before their carries have a chance to scale, but TSM, they're barging right through.
TSM's ready to go. Fudge is not here yet. Cloud9 now looking for the chance to go. Sword Art's going to be taken low. Spica as well. TSM is very far forward. Blabber's going to die first. Huni now looking to reset here in the back. Cloud9 making a 1-for-1 so far. Tier 3 turret still holding on, but Lost is ready and free firing. Turret falls. Inhibitor will be your next target. Cloud9 still ready to defend in the 4v4. Vulcan low HP. If he lands a death sentence and goes in, he's done. But TSM back it away.
I just want to say, heads up play there from Spica, because the pick for Cloud9 and the setup with the ultimate from Sven was very good under tower. And Spica's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to die, but I'm ulting in to turn this tower off to allow the rest of the team to fight our way out.
Absolutely agree. I mean, that is a really big play because Sven, as you say, he had that multi-man route with the Gravitum ult, and I think that's the best you can really hope for in that kind of situation, to preempt the dive, to be the ones who go first, to get that tower for that 6v5. Spica trades his life, but he keeps it even in what was a great play from Sven.
And now Cloud9 continue to hold on. 30 more seconds on that Baron. So let me ask you guys, we've talked about the power of the scaling for Cloud9. We've talked about how the late game looks for these champions. Azir is currently on 2 items. Aphelios is on 1.5. What do we need to see the 3-item power spike from both?
Let me draw your attention towards the Kalista with 3 items versus the one of Aphelios.
Exactly.
Okay.
And ask you how you feel now, because that
fair point.
That 3rd item is a Hurricane, which is such a big bonus. It's multiplicative. You're able to get so much AoE damage out as Kalista, throwing spears into both parties of the front line. It just feels like this is the way of the new game, where since there's more gold just on the map now, with 250 gold in every secondary turret, it does further incentivize trying to get that lead early so you can continue snowballing, continue pushing ahead, getting those objectives. And guess what? Cloud Soul is just another one on the checklist for TSM, not a C9 member in sight.
Yep, they're letting that one go. Cloud Soul completed, but what this does mean is Cloud9, if they can hold on for the next 6 minutes, could go for one of those Elder YOLO plays. If they feel like the game is slipping away so far that you have to do a Hail Mary to try to win, Elder Dragon is the place to do it. So 6 minutes from now, we'll be looking at that. But TSM, they'd love to end this game before we even get there.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a lot harder now for Cloud9 to actually get picks on some of these members. You know, you want to go for someone like Victor, but he drops the ulti, he procs the phase rush, he procs the Cloud Soul. This guy's Usain Bolt running around shooting lasers.
I also just hate Viego with Cloud Soul. Greatly enables this champion's play style.
Press R, press R, press R, press R.
Easy stuff there for the Reset King in the top lane. Huni is not anywhere near the rest of the players on the map. We have all 5 from Cloud9 and 4 from TSM around this bottom lane area. Huni getting that top wave pushed out instead. Remember that tier 2 turret still standing up there, so Huni knows that with all this pressure on the other side of the map, that is just some more free gold for himself and his team.
And one thing that you've got to mention is if you take these inhibitors early and you can't close the game, then you start to really flood gold into your opponent's base, who have incredible wave clear.
And that's why the #1 goal for TSM right now should be Baron setup. You're looking into the future. You have a Kalista, super fed Kalista, so securing the neutral objectives is way easier than sieging on these turrets and going for inhibitors. So the game plan right now for the next few minutes for TSM should be about setting up around this Baron. Then you force Cloud9 to try and come to you and expose themselves through the jungle, through the vision you've already laid down, and you've got the trump card of the Rend for the Baron as well.
And Huni is so incredibly powerful in this side lane, going for the Blade of the Ruined King as the second item, guarantees that he is at maximum 1v1 power for anybody that comes to try to stop him. Right now, it's Perks up there just clearing out the waves, obviously not looking for a full-on fight, but Cloud9 must be cognizant of the fact that we are under 30 seconds to go before that Baron spawns, and TSM would love to rush it again.
I really like the buy here from Spica, grabs the Anathema's Chains. It's a cheap item. You can get the completion before the Baron, and very likely attached to Perks, who is kind of the hope right now for Cloud9. He's closing in on those 3 items. He's going to be dealing a lot of damage and reducing not only the damage he deals to you, but the tenacity. So if you can actually stun up that Azir, that is a big deal.
This Baron's got to be gone. Look at that. They've got Trundle bottom side of the map. So Cloud9 are making the call. Hey, we cannot go into Fog of War right now versus this TSM squad. They're too fed. We can hope to try and fight them at our towers.
What can we do? Nothing. Where can we go? Bot lane.
Maybe we can get a secondary turret. But again, it's the same idea of we can't win that fight on the neutral objective. We saw this exact thing earlier from Cloud9, and it was intelligent then not to fight over the dragon, which was lower rewards, but try and get those top towers and try and get some money back for themselves. They are just placing their all-in bets on defense at their inhibitor turrets. Only problem for them, there's no inhibitor turret on bottom side. That one's open.
And I think the only thing they're actually going to go to defend, to contest, will be their Nexus or Elder, right? Because a lot of people do feel you give Elder, you give the game. So I think we are going to see them make their stand in 2.5 minutes if TSM does not force their hand before.
Especially because TSM have so many tools in their champion kits here. Volibear can turn off the turrets. If you have Elder, you're like, we're coming for the dive. We've got the extra power for the team fight. Just turn off the turret, and those few seconds can be swarm right inside.
And the timing of things is going to make this these upcoming minutes, very stressful for Cloud9. You've got 2 minutes of having to defend and endure against the second TSM Baron push, and then right after that's done, there's about 12 or 13 seconds separating them, Elder Dragon will spawn. TSM has the ability to control the map, push out all the waves, use the Baron, and then set themselves up to have prio over the Elder. Cloud9 must navigate this very, very wisely.
And I think that's a good point, because when you're corralled into your base, you have no ability to get vision, right?
Yeah.
You have no ability to actually be ready for that Elder Dragon because you're getting pressured in, you're just focused on wave clear, and then all of a sudden, as you say, there's this 15-second gap where TSM is going to have full vision of the map. They're going to be ready for that Elder on spawn, very likely. And you don't know, are they waiting in a brush? Are they rushing down the Elder? Do we face check immediately? What do we do?
It's such a hard situation to be in, but it is reality here for Cloud9. They're grouping up here in the top lane underneath the tier 3, looking to defend the base. Remember that the tier 3 turrets are still intact and very high HP in both top lane and mid. Inhibitor is exposed in bottom lane, but TSM don't want to overcommit for that. Cloud9's defense going well for now, and only 1 minute left on the Baron.
Yeah, I think the only way they could have got anything done there is if they actually were able to stall and sync their mid plus top lane wave. But already it killed out that extra minion wave, so since you can't sync it for the timing, it makes the rotation easy for Cloud9. And since bottom lane was lagging so far behind, they didn't have another point of pressure to work with. So TSM make the call. We're not going to overextend during this Baron play. Yes, it's going to run out in the next 30 seconds, and we won't actually get inside the base with this. But Elder Dragon is also coming up in 35 seconds, and we don't want to make a blunder right before that comes up, because that's a slingshot.
Exactly. Yeah, they've got to spend all their gold before this. They know the game could be decided here. Perks does get his third item. He has the Nashers, but unfortunately for Sven, he's not going to get to the IE. He just has pieces here. So missing out on that completion is such a big deal potentially in these team fights. And Huni looking to set up a potential angle here for the flank, but he is a little bit out from his team.
Cloud9 is trying to use Perks as bait. They want to have TSM overcommit for this.
A little bit too good.
Perks already losing 2/3 of his HP as Huni jumps in with a stun and a stab with the enemy mid laner under half health. He has to go back to base, heal up, use the teleport to join in on the fight. But the TP's coming in now. Cloud9 is ready to go. Fudge has already joined the fight. Perks is going to be coming in next. Fudge taking a little bit of damage. Perks looking to disengage, but now he's going to have to re-engage right back towards TSM. Fudge staying alive here with a W. Perks still separated from everybody else, and TSM is going to be chased away. It cost both of Cloud9's teleports, and TSM are coming back in now. Fudge with a nice stasis, keeping himself out of harm's way. Sword Art drops down the ulti, and is chasing after the Cloud9 top laner. He does not have a lot of tools left, but they're going in on Huni. Spica jumps right back into the fight, and now a stasis of his own will keep him alive. You've got Trundle in the front line, and Blabber has to flash out, looking to survive himself. Another stasis comes through, but snip, snip. First kill of the fight goes over to Cloud9. Another death sentence, not going to find the mark. It's been so close so many times for both sides, but TSM is going over to Elder.
Cloud9 versus TSM always delivers, and there's another fight ready, Flowers. This Elder Dragon is under attack, and Cloud9 don't want to let it go.
Cloud9 have the numbers advantage, but health bars are injured so severely. Elder Dragon's going to be taken down by TSM, and they're looking for more now. They'll chase after Vulcan and get the first execution. Sven is left alone and has to flash over the wall to stay alive. Huni goes forward. Huni goes in. Sven goes home. TSM goes big.
Cloud9 got the first kill, but TSM get the objective. And guess what? Elder Dragon buff means you get a key to unlock the base.
Man, power of evil in that fight. 1v4, zoning them off the Elder. Gravity field on one side, lasers on the other. Cloud9 does have 3 members alive, so the game may not end just yet, but TSM is pressing here, and Sword Art's out on the map trying to make his way back to the team.
Sword Art will not be able to join them immediately. TSM, 4 versus 4 in the enemy base. They've got that Elder. Lost, losing a bit of HP here. Power of Evil moving forward, trying to use the Chaos Storm for the last bit of damage onto Perks, but he will not get it. Cloud9 maintain the defense for now. TSM not going to focus on the Nexus, instead going over to the other lanes. They've got quite a big wave ready to go here in mid, and they want to push it up, but now they'll back away. They don't want to overcommit.
Yep, because Baron's up. Another 30 seconds, another neutral objective, another possible swing.
Oh, Sven has IE gold, though. Maybe it could swing things a little bit.
He's going back. He's got to be able to shop and then make it to the Baron, though. honestly just looks like it's going to be another TSM Baron rush without Cloud9 being able to really contest this. So, hey, they've already done it twice. Why not make it 3 times? TSM will go for the Baron as soon as it rears its head. And at this point in the game, with these items and these champions, say goodbye to your health bar, Mr. Baron. You are a big dead worm.
Yeah, also, they've got Gwen split pushing bottom side, so definitely not going to fight this one. Numbers disadvantage. Cloud9 still trying to play that defense. They've got 1 inhibitor down, but a single inhibitor down bottom side is something you can deal with. It's all about this team fight. There are 27 seconds left on the Elder Dragon, so that minion wave is a critical minion wave for C9 to try and take down. You see Sven trying to do everything he can, even hooking in the minions right now, try and kill this wave off and buy some time for Elder Dragon to dissipate.
Exactly. Items don't matter right now. Time is the one thing you're trying to buy. Wait for that Elder to go away. 7 seconds left means TSM will be able to hard force this tier 3 turret before that buff fades, but now it is gone. Cloud9 looking for the chance to fight before they lose any more inhibs. Sword Art here on the very front line, but he's going to be pulled to safety back by the Kalista now. Blabber's going to get focused and killed immediately. Fudge staying alive thanks to the W. TSM will manage to get the enemy inhibitor. It is a 1-for-1 trade. They take the jungler, they lose their support, they take their lead.
And it's just so back and forth here. TSM have been in command for so long, but the scaling is kicking in for Cloud9, and they're having trouble closing the door here, finishing that game out. It is getting more and more even in these fights. A lot of 1-for-1s. TSM still in the driver's seat, though, and they've knocked 2 out of 3 inhibs down.
Yeah, there's 3 doors to the base. They knocked down the front door, they knocked down the back door. Now that's all that left.
Coming through the chimney.
Okay, Blabber's going to be alive in 5, so they're backing away now. They know that even though Sword Art respawns at the same time, it is a long walk for a big, slow boy to get down to the enemy base. So TSM will again back away. 1.5 minutes left here on the Baron buff. They'll still have more time to use it. And then, hey guys, 2.5 minutes from now, Elder spawns again.
Death cap completed for Power of Evil's Victor, level 18. Pretty much max build. He's got double Zhonya stasis here with Zhonya's and stopwatch. So lots of playmaking for this very high damage mage late game carry for TSM. And this is the out that we talked about. TSM drafting themselves so they weren't completely bottled into the early game.
Absolutely. And it's going to be really, really strong. But for Sven versus Lost, I mean, Lost is full build now. So this is your peak of power. You've got the double stasis on your mid laner, death cap complete. You are full build with GA on Lost. You want to end the game now. You do not want this to drag on and allow Cloud9 to keep farming, keep closing that gap as far as the items go.
Well, Fudge has only just now joined back up with the team. Sword Art's going to take the damage here on the front yet again. Mid lane inhibitor still alive, but being taken down rather rapidly. Fudge staying alive again with the power of the W. Huni having to ult out backwards. TSM will get the inhibitor, and that is huge. That is all 3 inhibs now down. Double super minions in every lane.
Now that is something that very, very few teams come back for. Because the super minions both buff up each other and they're coming down every single lane, it is basically, you know, just trying to clear out the trash over and over and over while TSM get the run of the map, picking up the extra objectives. There's 57 seconds on the next Elder Dragon, but with all the double super minion lanes streaming in, TSM might want to finish it before then.
The one saving grace, the bottom lane inhib is respawning. So they're only getting this one wave of double supers, and if they can hold on to that bottom lane inhib, things will slow down a bit.
And what's critical is trying to gain yourself some extra time. When you're in Cloud9's situation here, they're trying to just push out as far as they can. You see on the top side of the map, Fudge does a good job pushing an extra double super wave up to the top side to buy themselves another 30 seconds with which to try and have something to say about the lead up to the Elder.
TSM setting up shop in the enemy jungle, trying to make Cloud9 face check into these control wards, into this vision. Power of Evil with the gravity well over the wall. Fudge with a good use of the W there to make sure he doesn't get caught out by the anchor of the Nautilus. Spica using the Zhonyas, flashing away now to make sure that he stays alive. You cannot lose your jungler with Elder Dragon about to spawn. Perks and Vulcan both taking a bit of damage in their own right, but it's still Spica who is the lowest health player on Summoner's Rift.
And his Zhonyas is on cooldown. That's what Volibear in late game relies on, trying to survive through these team team fight. So Cloud9, they've got to charge ahead.
Cloud9's ready to go. They know that TSM's able to burn this down very quickly. They've got the Rend ready. Cloud9's moving in. They have to do or die now. Vulcan's down to about 5% HP. There's the first kill on Perks. It's already over. It's already done. TSM, they get what they need to get. They got the mid. They got the support. They got the top. Sven and Blabber will do whatever they can, trying to fight the rest of the good fight, but that don't matter none. Huni stole Fudge's body, teleported into the enemy base, and killed him with it. Ladies and gentlemen, TSM dismantles Cloud9.
And this is why, where the premier rivalries in the LCS, TSM versus Cloud9 continually delivering, because it goes back and forth. In spring, Cloud9, the ones with the upper hand. Here, TSM with a quick strike back. PoE drafted the Victor, the late game insurance for this team, multiple times. So much damage output, so much area on the fight controlled by his Victor. He flashes the attempted swoop from Perks in the last fight, and they turn it around on him. They get the objective. Just well played there by TSM.
I mean, I think you nailed it. The zone control was the biggest thing to me. Cloud9, because they were penned in their base, is always the second one to the objective. And every time they're trying to enter, you have to walk through the gravity field. You walk around that, now you're in the laser. Then he drops the ulti. They're delaying, they're making the setup for the fight so impossible. And I've also got to give credit to Spica. The play around the bottom lane, coordinating with this bottom lane that traditionally has not been the strength of TSM this split, was so damn good. They put Sven and Vulcan incredibly behind right off the bat. Yes, Fudge was able to swing in a bit with his TP, but that was such a point of power for them. I mean, Sven ended the game 2 full items down on Lost.
Right, and when you brought up specifically the point about Sven not being at that Infinity Edge yet, when you looked at the farm at that state of the game, he was 50, 60 farm behind his opponent, right? If that bottom lane doesn't go as tragically as it does for Cloud9 early on, Sven hits breakpoints earlier, it might make the difference that can change the game earlier. But that's all shoulda, woulda, coulda, maybe. It doesn't matter because TSM crushed the bottom lane.
I think there are just so many different things that Spica did well in this game. It was my vote for player of the game. It was between him and the bottom lane.
Good brain, mine too.
Well done, well done. Honestly, just especially because you're playing so much to the things that you have drafted, and with it being so focused on bottom side, you can say, hey, they got such a good early lead with Thresh walking right into them level 1. That's ideal scenario, but it's what you do with the opportunities that arise in front of you to get the most out of them.
I mean, I think that's exactly the point, right? It's so easy to actually just say, oh, well, yeah, you just play to your winning bottom lane, but to find the right timings, to always be in the right area at the right time, to set up your path for that, I think that is what really impressed me most, and they executed so well on this winning bottom lane against a comp that was going to outscale them, that they couldn't play against, from an equal position. You had to get this lead. They did, and they win the game off of it.
And thus ends another chapter in the TSM versus Cloud9 rivalry. We're heading to another break, but after that, Raz will be breaking down some neighborhood tactics, and Lost will be joining the State Farm Analyst Desk. We'll catch you there.
Happy 4th of July.
Decorative towel.
There was a mess. I wiped up a mess.
Yeah, you... Where is the butt? Never mind, I found
it! When game day is a go, there's a Bud Light there.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Raz, and we are here for our Neighborhood Tactics, sponsored by State Farm. I'm going to be looking at the dreaded level 1 that destroyed Cloud9, but the follow-up that was great from TSM. Now, it's all about the warding here, level 1 here. Vulcan, of course, the full composition is catered to taking down the Kalista. The Trundle pillar is one thing. The range that Aphelios provides. One thing that they're concerned about is the snowballing. Now, there are 2 wards you can put here if you're concerned about the early levels. Ward right here, if you're concerned about the red start from the enemy jungler and then cutting through the jungle really early on, go for a bot lane dive. Other one is for a late invade. But you have to be much earlier to that. I don't think Vulcan was thought about the late invade, so he wanted to ward this just in case of the prior concern that I was talking about. So if we roll the actual footage here, yeah, he gets caught out. This was the intent of TSM, I would imagine, for the late invade to focus towards the bot side of the map. And so while this kill is nice for Kalista, the follow-up is going to be really important. This is a good idea from the Trundle to try and trade sides so he doesn't lose out in farm, but the idea now is that he knows his bot camp is going to be cleared out. So the next time that he's going to be able to go towards his Raptors is going to be around 420, 430. So ball lane, you're on your own. It's a disaster out here because, as you can see, problem is TSM is setting up for another play on a word scene of Sven and Vulcan. The wave has bounced back after the fact that they come back in the lane, so it's just great from TSM, recognizing that they can punish knowing that the jungler is not going to be here in time. So it was not only great IQ from TSM knowing that the original plan was going to be on the late invade, it was just a solid follow-up from them knowing that the wave is going to be bouncing back from Cloud9 and they can set up for another gank before the jungle has anything to say about it. So that one definitely dictated this game, but I want to be hearing more from the bot laner that benefited off this one, Lost, as he's being interviewed here.
Well, thank you very much, Raz. We are lucky to be joined by Lost as TSM takes the most recent game in that historic Cloud9 versus TSM rivalry. I'm going to start where he left off, though. First of all, thank you for joining us. But second, walk me through your perspective of that level 1. Was he right in most of his assumptions?
Honestly, Vulcan just handed us a solid. So
You just slid him a 5 under the table.
I think we're stronger. Bot side 3v3. Maybe it's a little close because Trundle's pretty strong. But we were planning for the lane invade. But he kind of came to us before we came to them. So thank you to Vulcan.
Okay, so maybe a little bit of luck that plays into that level 1. But how about the things that preceded that from the perspective of taking advantage of the bot lane with the lead that you had built?
I think after we took the heavy trade with the level 1 hook into the Aphelios or Sven, and then we ended up getting a bot gank off with Ming coming to dive or Spica. I think after that, and them losing like 2 waves, I think they had like 0 CS to 20, and we had 2 plays before 7 minutes. I think like that game state already is a really, really huge bot advantage for us. So I think after that, we did pretty well, securing all the objectives and whatnot, and playing the game somewhat cleanly.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
So one thing that we've seen from you guys is that you have been focusing more towards having these pushing bot lanes or slightly more aggressive bot lanes early. So was the late invade response or something that you planned out? Like, did you see their comp and were like, okay, they're obviously trying to shut me down on the Kalista, here's what we're going to do, or was that always your level 1 plan?
I think these like really strong bot heavy prio champs are kind of just coming into meta already. All the regions are playing them, so I think naturally you're going to have really strong level 1s. In particular, Kalista and Nolus are really strong level 1. So I think just from the get-go off their draft, we're already planning for our level 1 invade. So, I think they could have been more prepared for it, and luckily it worked out for us.
I mean, it was insane to see the punish because the split map was perfect for you guys to gank again. This is the second game in a row now where you've had pretty dominant laning performances yesterday as well, destroying them level 1, I'm pretty sure it was. Was there more focus, like you said, with the meta evolving this week on playing around you and the bot lane in particular, or was it more just this how the drafts worked out?
I think it's kind of just how the drafts work out.
Yeah?
Like,
it was like, let's get Lost some sunshine here.
I just think like these really like strong early game ball laners are just coming into meta, and if you don't play them, I just think you're at a heavy disadvantage. So, yeah.
So now I want to dig into the kind of the thing you alluded to, which is that, hey, we got set up so well, probably could have ended that game in cleaner fashion. I just want to hear it, from a pro player's perspective, what you mean when you say that. Because ultimately the win did come through. in one way or another. What parts of the game felt unclean?
So usually, like, if you're 3 items or like 2 core items to 1.5 or not even a completed core item, usually the game closes out really, really quickly. I think you can see it in like Eastern regions, LPL, LCK, maybe not LCK as much, but the game should close out really, really early, or earlier than it closed out for our game, when you have such a huge gold lead. So I think what was unclean is like how our setups were in mid to late game. We had Elder and Baron, and we had failed to end the game on both pushes. So I think anyone can see like we definitely could have been way cleaner on our execution.
We were talking about some like a range advantages that they had. How much of that struggle in closing the game out was natural draft? Like, okay, it's a little hard to get onto the Azir, Thresh, and they also have a Trundle too. If you miss position, you're going to get pillared in. Like, how much of that was just struggling against their comp versus like we as a team should have just been better at closing?
For sure, their comp is pretty hard. Like, honestly, in the game, it's kind of like, yeah, we could probably dive them. Let's dive them. Okay,
didn't work.
We can't really dive them. We should try to play 2 lanes, or look for more push on the side waves, stuff like that. It was a lot in turn because of their comp. So props to them for making it really hard for us to close out the game.
And last week we had PoE on the desk, and we pointed out one of the topside plays that they went for that he defended between him and Swordart. And I have noticed that even if they have been shaky, you guys have been going for slightly more proactive plays like in the mid to late game and trying stuff out. Is that again a focus, or just how the games have ended up playing out?
I think they're kind of just how the games have ended up playing. I think for the most part, us as a team, we haven't looked super clean. I think 100 Thieves have been looking really dominant, but we're getting there, and hopefully when we do meet them, we get to prove them wrong that they're not the most dominant team in LCS.
All right, I like that, throwing the gauntlet a little bit. But one of the people, in charge alongside the 5 of you on the Rift with kind of moving towards improvement and cleaning up the gameplay is Bjergsen as a coach. Since we have you here, and we've gotten an opportunity to like look behind the scenes with things like TSM Legends, and we know that he, as a player, was somebody who demanded, perfection from himself. How does it feel having him as a coach? I mean, in LCS, great, but now transitioning into a new position.
I think Soren's great. I love Soren. I think.
What do you got? Like, you gonna meet him after stage?
I mean,
like, say nice things.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I have only good things to say about Soren. So, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I just think him having like a past pro player experience, provides a lot of insight into just being a coach in general. Whereas other head coaches maybe, they won't have as much understanding of like the little details that occur in the game.
I mean, that's kind of what I was, in a sense, what I was going to go at. I mean, he does have a tremendous amount of experience, but I also would imagine that he has a tremendous amount of understanding for all of the obstacles and things that you run into as a player, both on and off the Rift. But when it comes to talking about the development of style, and who on the team at different times is going to be the carry, has, he kind of created a mission statement. Like, what is the ultimate direction of TSM? What is the end game for TSM when we look at an LCS championship battle?
I think every team kind of like slowly identifies their own style. And I think that comes probably less from the coach and more from, well, it's kind of both, where like the players need to know their role in the game after weeks and weeks of practice, like what your bread and butter best way to win is. And the coach kind of facilitates practice and, how they draft our champions for us, throughout the season to make it so, we stay true to our identity and our best way to win. So I think it's kind of half and half for both coaches and players when it comes to team identity.
I mean, and within that, you look at the top teams across the league, I think something that stood out to me in summer is kind of the diversity that we've seen across many of the teams. I mean, I actually say top to bottom, not even just the top teams. There's a lot of teams that are trying some really interesting stuff. The meta feels, in some senses, wider than ever. I mean, do you feel a distinct shift in kind of the evolution of League of Legends and the way it was played? We had at the top of the day a conversation in one of the pieces on Next Level about the origins of the LCS and how the game was played in one specific way, but it feels year over year there is that evolution. Like, where are we going from here? More a team game than ever? Do you feel like more individual agencies coming back into the game?
I think for the most part, since the Mythic change, there's just so much damage in the game that like you pulling off a 1v5 play is pretty low.
Okay.
Like you're just gonna get one shot by. So if you've seen like the Dianas in the most recent games, you're like one shotting the whole team,
Yeah.
bro. It's crazy. especially as an AD carry. You're like 4-0 your first turret, and the 0-0 jungler just comes and one-shots you, bro.
I was about to say, like, everything's melee dive right now. Are you like,
Hard to be a marksman, man. Hard to be a marksman, I imagine.
Honestly, bot's kind of fun right now. You get to play, you know, Kalista, Varus, Aphelios. These are really like mechanically intensive champions.
Okay.
And they're a lot of fun. So I'm still really enjoying League, and you know, I hope the rest of the player base is too.
Not Kaisa duty for life. We've moved on to other things. Well, Lost, again, I want to congratulate you on a big victory today, closing out the week strong and holding on to that second position in the LCS. But I'll look forward to the challenge of 100 Thieves the next time you guys step up to the plate.
Thank you very much.
From here, we're going to a break. When we come back, it's Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. We'll see you there.